Let's be clear, this isn't just a quarterback controversy. It's a full-on football scandal. The kind that turns locker rooms into war zones. The kind that makes national headlines. The kind that makes owners take phone calls they were hoping to avoid until at least the off-season. And right at the center of it, Kevin Stefanski, Shedeur Sanders, and a bombshell lawsuit that just cracked the foundation of the Cleveland Browns.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
20 minutes ago, news broke that rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders has officially filed a lawsuit against Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, accusing him of sabotage, bias, character assassination, and deliberate obstruction of his career. That's not a typo. That's the real deal. Let that sink in for a second. A rookie filing legal action against his own head coach while still on the roster, while still suiting up in Browns colors. This has never happened before. And while the internet explodes and analysts scramble to figure out what the hell is going on, Browns fans already know the answer. This has been building for weeks. Because anyone paying attention saw it coming. The red flags were there from the beginning. Shedeur Sanders, the team's most electric rookie, the quarterback who dominated reps in camp, who flashed real leadership in practice, who had the backing of the owner himself, was somehow, repeatedly, benched in favor of quarterbacks who looked like they were holding on for dear life. Tyler Huntley? Couldn't push the ball downfield. Dylan Gabriel? Raw, hesitant, uninspiring. Joe Flacco? Stiff as a statue and still treated like the second coming of Vinny Testaverde. Meanwhile, Shedeur? Every time he touched the field, something sparked. The offense moved. The huddle locked in. Players responded to him like he belonged. And then, just like that, he was yanked. Benched. Mysteriously unavailable. Coaches citing vague injuries, tight reps, strategic decisions. Strategic for who, exactly? Because the only strategy we saw was burying a young QB with star potential under a pile of excuses and outdated schemes. And now we know why. According to the lawsuit, Stefanski and select staff members actively blocked Shedeur's development, limiting reps, restricting media access, benching him during key drives, and even going so far as to quietly push the narrative that he was not ready or overhyped. That's not mismanagement. That's malice. The suit claims this obstruction wasn't just about playing time. It was about destroying value. Endorsement deals were pulled. Marketing campaigns stalled. Jersey sales that should have skyrocketed were never even given the chance. Sanders' camp is calling it what it is: economic sabotage. And if this all sounds dramatic, that's because it is. This isn't some petty locker room beef or a misunderstanding over reps. This is a direct attack on a player's career before it even got the chance to begin. And now the Browns are reeling. Owner Jimmy Haslam is said to be furious. Not just at the lawsuit, but at the fact that this could have all been avoided if the coaching staff had just done the obvious thing and trusted the talent. If they'd embraced the moment. If they'd stopped gatekeeping the future of the franchise. But no, they protected the system. They protected themselves. And now the system is imploding. Inside the building, it's chaos. GM Andrew Berry is stuck between a lawsuit and a loyalty test. Coordinators are reportedly split, some siding with Shedeur, others still defending Stefanski. Players are picking sides. Morale? In freefall. Because the thing about sabotage is, it never stays hidden forever. People notice. And they talk. And when one player has the guts to stand up, file papers, and say this is not okay, suddenly, others start whispering too. That's the real danger here, for Stefanski, for the Browns, for the entire league. This lawsuit isn't just about Shedeur. It's about how many other rookies have been quietly silenced, misused, or blocked because their coaches didn't believe in them, didn't like them, or didn't pick them. If Shedeur wins this case, it could change everything. Imagine a world where coaches can be held legally accountable for hindering a player's market value, where development decisions become subject to scrutiny and evidence, where benching a rookie star isn't just a PR hit, it's grounds for litigation, We're heading into uncharted territory. And the Browns? They're the test case. Meanwhile, fans are done being polite. Cleveland's long-suffering faithful, already shell-shocked by years of quarterback chaos, are watching their potential savior get dismantled from the inside out. They were promised a rebuild, a future, a leader. Instead, they got drama, backdoor politics, and now a lawsuit that could rip the locker room in half. Twitter is on fire. Hashtag Free Shedeur is trending. Former players, some of them Browns alumni, are going on national television and calling out Stefanski by name. T.J. Houshmandzadeh called it coaching cowardice. Aqib Talib said Stefanski shouldn't coach another down. Even anonymous NFL scouts are saying what we're all thinking. Shedeur Sanders was set up to fail from the beginning. And the fallout's just getting started. Stefanski's job? Hanging by a thread. This morning, front office sources said he was safe for now. 20 minutes later, that turned into no comment. Emergency meetings are happening behind closed doors. Lawyers are involved. Crisis managers are circling the facility like vultures. And somewhere in all this mess, Shedeur Sanders is still showing up to practice, still studying tape, still acting like a professional, while the team around him melts into dysfunction. You want to talk about leadership? That's it, right there. A 22-year-old quarterback under fire, holding his ground with the world watching, while grown men around him scramble to cover their mistakes. That's the quarterback Cleveland should have rallied around. That's the guy they should have built around. That's the future they're still trying to bury. But now, it's too late to bury anything. The documents are filed. The media storm has begun. The fans have chosen their side. And Kevin Stefanski? He might just be the first head coach in modern NFL history to get fired and sued by his own quarterback at the same time. So what happens next? That's the $50 million question. Does Stefanski make it through the week? Does the team settle the lawsuit quietly? Does Shedeur get traded? Or, maybe, just maybe, do the Browns finally do what they should have done from the start? Clear out the coaching rot. Apologize to their rookie. And let him lead. Because no matter what you think about lawsuits or locker room politics, one thing is crystal clear. Shedeur Sanders was never the problem. He was the plan. He was the future. And he still might be, if the Browns don't blow this completely. So, Cleveland, what's it going to be? Do you double down on dysfunction? Or finally face the truth? Let me know in the comments. And if you're here for the chaos, stay locked in. Because this story, it's just getting started. And something tells me, the meltdown isn't over. It's only just begun. Let's keep this train wreck rolling. Because at this point, the Cleveland Browns aren't just spiraling. They're making NFL history in all the worst ways. Think about where we are right now. A rookie quarterback, a fifth-round pick with undeniable upside, football bloodlines, and actual flashes of greatness in camp, is suing his own head coach for sabotage while still under contract. And the head coach still hasn't been fired. Are you kidding? You couldn't write a more dysfunctional script if you tried. Hollywood wouldn't touch this. Netflix would pass for being too unrealistic. But here we are, live from Cleveland, where the Browns have somehow managed to take the most promising young quarterback they've had since ever and turn him into the centerpiece of a national legal battle about coaching malpractice and developmental sabotage. We've officially crossed into the realm of surreal. Let's zoom in, because the lawsuit itself, it's not just Shedeur's camp throwing accusations around. It's detailed. It's damning. And if even half of it's true, Kevin Stefanski isn't just in hot water. He's in boiling lava. One of the most eye-opening claims? Coaches intentionally pulled protection packages during Shedeur's snaps in practice and preseason. No extra blockers. No real adjustments. Just send the kid out there behind the Browns' backup O-line, let him get lit up, and then point to the film and say, see? He's not ready. That's not coaching. That's a hit job. And it gets worse. According to the filing, staff members were instructed to withhold certain playbook packages from Shedeur's reps, under the guise of simplicity. Translation? He wasn't allowed to run the same plays the other quarterbacks were using. He wasn't given the same tools, the same chances. They weren't evaluating him. They were controlling the outcome. Think about that. Think about how much effort it takes to limit someone's growth on purpose. That's not just incompetence. That's calculated sabotage. And for what? To protect egos? To preserve the myth that the vet gives us the best chance to win? To maintain some internal hierarchy that makes absolutely zero sense? Because if this was just about football, Shedeur would already be QB1. If this was just about merit, he'd have started weeks ago. This is about power, about control, about coaches protecting their legacy at the expense of the franchise's future. And the fans? They're not having it. Every Browns subreddit is on fire. Twitter is in full mutiny mode. Even the usually loyal radio hosts are turning on Stefanski like he forgot how to spell offense. The public isn't just siding with Shedeur, they're backing him with rage. And rightfully so, because this team has had, 32 quarterbacks in 20 years. An entire generation of fans has grown up on false promises and quarterback roulette. And now, finally, a player comes along who brings a spark, who actually has it. And he gets shut out by his own staff. You don't just bench that. You don't just silence that. You build around it. Unless, of course, you're too threatened to admit you didn't pick him. Let's not forget, Shedeur was Jimmy Haslam's guy. That's the detail that keeps getting lost in all this. The owner went to the mat for this pick. He watched the tape, flew out to see workouts, made calls, pushed for the draft spot. Haslam didn't just invest money. He invested vision. And the coaching staff? They treated it like an inconvenience. That's the core of the problem here. The staff didn't want Shedeur. They didn't like how he came in. They didn't like who vouched for him. And once he started looking better than the guys they did like, they buried him. You can dress it up however you want, timing, development, veteran stability. But at the end of the day, it was ego. And now, that ego might cost them everything. Because if Haslam has to choose between a stubborn, underperforming head coach and the quarterback he sees as the future of the franchise, you already know how this ends. Stefanski's days are numbered. There's no other way this story goes. You can't lead a locker room while being sued by your quarterback. You can't win back trust after half the team starts whispering about what else you've been hiding. You can't rebuild credibility when the fans literally chant for your firing during home games. You're done. Whether it's tomorrow, next week, or at the end of this lawsuit, you're out. The only question now? What happens to Shedeur? Because this situation is fragile. He's still a rookie. Still learning. Still navigating a league that chews up young quarterbacks and spits them out in record time. If the Browns handle this poorly, they don't just lose Stefanski, they could lose everything. The locker room, the fan base, and Shedeur himself. There are already whispers. The trade interest is real. Multiple teams, real teams with actual stability, have been circling. The Giants, the Falcons, even the Broncos have sniffed around. And if this mess drags out much longer, Haslam might not get to make a choice. Shedeur might make it for him. But here's the silver lining. For all the chaos, all the bad blood, all the headlines, this story isn't over. It can still turn. The Browns can still make this right. Fire Stefanski. Publicly back Sanders. Give him the keys. Build a real offensive system around his strengths. Apologize to the fans and mean it. Show the league that you can learn, evolve, and finally stop being the punchline of every broken franchise conversation. Will it happen? Who knows? This is Cleveland. Logic doesn't always apply here. But if there's any hope left, any path to redemption, it starts with acknowledging the truth. Shedeur Sanders wasn't the problem. He was the potential. And everyone who tried to hide that, they were the threat. You want more chaos? Let's go deeper. Because somehow, the Browns have turned what should have been a feel-good rookie rise into an absolute organizational implosion. And it all circles back to one name. Shedeur Sanders. Let's talk real. This isn't just about bad quarterback management anymore. It's about a franchise stuck in denial, lashing out at the one guy who actually represents hope. And let's get this part clear right now. Shedeur didn't want this smoke. He didn't come into Cleveland looking to pick fights. He wasn't trying to stir controversy. He just wanted to play football. He came in, took the reps seriously, showed out in camp, kept it professional, and still ended up in the crosshairs of a coaching staff more interested in preserving their own pride than building a future. And when the writing on the wall became too loud to ignore, they didn't adjust. They retaliated. Think about that. A rookie, who by all accounts earned his shot, got iced out, micromanaged, gaslit, and then publicly undermined. That's not tough love. That's not development. That's a deliberate effort to shut him down. And for what? To protect Dillon Gabriel's reps? To prove that Flacco still has veteran instincts? To avoid giving the owners pick a stage? It's exhausting. And it's dangerous. Because when you let internal politics override performance, you lose the locker room. And right now, all signs point to a fractured team behind the scenes. You've got players allegedly split, some backing Shedeur, others terrified to speak up. You've got coordinators reportedly skipping media availability. Even the equipment staff is catching strays in anonymous quotes. There's no unity, no vision, just silent chaos wrapped in a fake smile every time Stefanski hits a podium. And as for Stefanski, his last few pressers have been like watching a man talk in circles while the ground crumbles under him. We're focused on development. He's progressing at his own pace. We like what we've seen from all our quarterbacks. Please, everyone sees through it now. The media, the fans, the league. It's not about development. It's about deflection. Because the more attention Shedeur gets, the more Stefanski looks like the guy who couldn't recognize talent if it threw a 40-yard strike through a blizzard. And instead of adapting, like any smart coach would, he doubled down on control. But now, the control is slipping. The lawsuit was the first crack. The media frenzy was the second. And now, the court of public opinion has officially turned hostile. You've got Shedeur jerseys outselling starters. National commentators calling out the franchise by name. Fan forums organizing literal protests outside practice. And worst of all, other teams are watching. This is the NFL. Nobody stays loyal forever, especially not when opportunity knocks. And right now, the opportunity to poach a young, talented, media-savvy QB with a chip on his shoulder? Every GM in the league just raised an eyebrow. Teams like the Giants and Falcons, organizations that desperately need identity, are licking their chops. Because if the Browns blow this, if they let Shedeur walk, somebody else is going to cash in on their incompetence. And that's the nightmare scenario for Cleveland. Not just losing Shedeur, but watching him become a star somewhere else. Imagine that timeline. Shedeur suits up in New York, starts by week 6. Has his breakout game on primetime. ESPN runs a From Lawsuit to Legend segment. The Browns? Still stuck, deciding whether they want to roll with Gabriel or draft another quarterback next year. We've seen it happen before. Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith. Careers derailed, then resurrected. Because the second someone actually believed in them, they delivered. And Shedeur? He's got more tools than any of those guys had at his age. He just needs one thing, a clean slate. So the Browns have two options now. Option 1. Rip off the bandage. Fire Stefanski. Publicly back Shedeur. Make it right. Not in some half-baked statement, but with real action. Appoint an interim who actually wants to coach him. Let him take the reins. Give the fans something to believe in. Option 2. Let the rot continue. Ride the season out with a ghost of a game plan. Pretend Flacco or Gabriel is the answer. Set Shedeur up for one more failure, then ship him off and spin the narrative. Only one of those options ends with respect. Only one gives you a chance at redemption. Only one keeps the fans from setting fire to the dog pound in protest. Because if Haslam lets this spiral any further, he won't just lose Shedeur. He'll lose everyone. Coaching staff? Gone. GM? On thin ice. Locker room culture? Nuked. Fan trust? Dead. And what will they have left? Another rebuild. Another draft pick. Another round of press releases pretending the last 5 years didn't happen. But here's the thing. They don't have to go down like that. The window is still cracked. Shedeur's still there. Still watching. Still waiting. Still hoping that somebody, anybody, in that building steps up and says, "You know what? This kid deserves the keys." Because when that happens, you watch the tide turn. You watch the energy shift. You watch a franchise actually start to look like it's got a direction again. Shedeur's not perfect. No rookie is. He's going to throw picks. He's going to get sacked. He's going to have games where it looks like he's drowning. But you know what else? He's going to learn. He's going to improve. And with support, he's going to lead. So Browns fans, you've been through hell before. You know how this goes. But if there's one thing this city understands, it's redemption. And right now, Shedeur's giving this team a chance at something it hasn't had in a long time. A fresh start. Don't waste it. All right, let's bring it home. And believe me, this chapter isn't ending with a handshake and a press conference. Because even with all the smoke, lawsuits, locker room tension, and national embarrassment, there's still a heartbeat in this story. There's still a sliver of a shot that the Browns could come out of this with their heads held high if they act fast and if they stop trying to control the narrative and start owning the moment. Here's the reality. Shedeur Sanders didn't come to Cleveland to be a headline. He came to build something. He believed in the vision. He bought into the hype. And even now, through all the sabotage, the silence, the scapegoating, he's still here. Still showing up. Still studying tape. Still waiting for someone to give him the respect he's earned. And that's leadership. Not the kind that posts motivational quotes after losses. The kind that does the work, even when no one's watching. The kind that says, "You can try to bury me, but I'm going to outlast the dirt." So here's the wild twist in this whole circus. If the Browns wake up now, if they make the hard decision and let Stefanski go, they don't just save Shedeur's career. They might just save their own franchise. Because this isn't just about a quarterback anymore. It's about culture, about identity, about whether the Browns are finally going to stop being the team that fumbles every golden opportunity handed to them. And the fans? They're not going to wait forever. They've watched this franchise pick bust after bust, bet on the wrong coaches, and turn potential into punchlines. They've earned something real, something bold, something electric. And Shedeur Sanders is right there. Waiting, ready, unbroken. But every day the Browns delay. Every week they tiptoe around the obvious. It pushes the team further from relevance and closer to collapse. So this is it. The line in the sand. Either Cleveland steps up and says, "We got it wrong, but we're fixing it now." Or they become the cautionary tale for every team that let ego get in the way of greatness. Your move, Browns. And to the fans still holding on, still watching this play out like the most painful reality show in sports, just know, if they let Shedeur walk, he will rise somewhere else. And when that happens, Cleveland won't just have regrets. They'll have receipts. And the whole league will be watching. Because no matter what happens next, one thing's for sure. This story isn't ending quietly.